Hey, what's going on, Los Angeles? Welcome to the Rams Skinny here on the LAFB network, the LA fan base network. We are Los Angeles Sports, coming at you talking all things Los Angeles Rams, and it is draft season. Free agency is not done, but where the Rams sit, I think they're probably not going to make any exciting moves. You know, some of these little tidbit moves can still be very meaningful. But I think we're gone past the big splash moves at this point. Davante Adams was that right at the beginning, plus some signings afterwards. So now we can kind of turn our focus to the NFL draft. And I think we've got a fun topic for you today. But first and foremost, my man Skinny T. How we doing, brother?
Doing good. We just posted an article based on our last episode. A very well-liked, well-watched episode, I feel like.
Yeah.
They did pretty good numbers. So I thank you guys for tuning in to us, checking us out, talking draft with us. I've had this brainworm ever since I heard it. I was listening to the NFL Daily podcast, and they were talking about Myles Garrett staying with the Cleveland Browns. And he did an interview with Andrew Siciliano on his show. He does a Browns show. And Myles Garrett is talking about how excited he was to be back with the Browns because of some big quarterback news coming down the pipeline. We're talking quarterbacks today. I don't know if you already said that, but
I didn't.
Like,
nice tease.
What on earth could he possibly be thinking in terms of adding a quarterback? Is it Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders? Is that what he's getting excited about, or is it Kirk Cousins that he's getting excited about? Is there still a Matthew Stafford trade that's in the pipeline? Is that happening?
I mean,
I posed that.
It's probably more of like the 40 million big ones sitting in his bank account with the new deal they gave him.
He said it was the quarterback related excitement that brought him back to the Browns. Yeah. I just can't get that on my head. I can't possibly think all the quarterback options right now do not excite me in terms of this year right now today, adding this to the Browns. I don't think it changes anything.
I still don't like, and we'll get into Rams really quickly, but I have no idea why the Browns wouldn't just get Aaron Rodgers unless he doesn't want to go there. Maybe he doesn't want to go there. But you only have 1 year, and Deshaun Watson, I mean, all that's a mess anyway, but he's hurt. So regardless, you need someone to play at least half the year.
Yeah.
Like Russell Wilson, I'm guessing is going to want like a little bit of like a 2-year or 3-year deal. I mean, maybe he'll do another 1-year deal, but with Steelers it was different because he technically wasn't traded. The Broncos cut him, but he just needed like a landing spot at that point. Whereas now I'm guessing he'll want a little bit more length to that. So I'm just surprised they wouldn't. Maybe it is that. Maybe it is Rodgers behind the scenes.
Maybe.
I mean, if you're a defensive player and you're like, I want to prove, like, I want my franchise to prove they want to win. I mean, I would think a flyer on Rodgers would entice you more than Kirk Cousins would.
Certainly. Yeah.
More than even a rookie would.
Max Crosby last year was pounding the table for Antonio Pierce to be head coach of the Raiders. And they were like, oh, well, maybe that wasn't such a good idea. That didn't last very long. But anyway, let's get to some Rams talk.
Rams. So real quick before we get into it, show is always brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. It's March Madness, baby. I had some very close parlays today. So this is Thursday recording, probably published Friday. So I'm going to have a bunch more parlays going Friday to make up for my losses today. But I did it all on BetOnline. You can do same game parlays, but they also you can stack all the games obviously and do parlays that way. You know what killed me, Skinny? Did you watch? Obviously, me and you've both been working all day, but I had it on in the background here. Did you watch any at all?
No, I saw McNeese State won an upset.
That's obviously what killed my parlay. It was Clemson falling to McNeese State. It's so hard. Like, this is what makes sports betting so hard. Like, you pick, especially March Madness, you pick sometimes an obvious favorite, which March Madness, there's always upsets. You're always going to get a Cinderella, which I picked Creighton. It was a 9-8 matchup, but Creighton crushed Louisville in their game. But so you pick some obvious, okay, Clemson's had a good year. They're a 5 seed. McNeese State's a 13 seed. Or what is that, 12 seed? Whatever the matchup is. I think 5-12. And so, you pick Clemson, but then McNeese State comes off to an early lead. They're winning. You find yourself like, well, I don't want to kill my parlay, but like, I'd love to see the Cinderella story win this game. Like you get conflicted because the money is saying, no, I need Clemson to come back, be the big bad 5 seed and win. But your heartstrings are like, A, where is McNeese State? B, I'm rooting for these guys. Like, let's see some Cinderella put on her slippers. So it's tough drama to deal with. But all that can be done at betonline.ag is all I'm trying to say.
The only advice I can give anybody is go bet on the Lady Gophers in the Frozen Four semifinal. Go bet on them. Put some money on them. They're playing
Lady Gophers
tomorrow.
Is the ladies' Frozen Four is already going on?
It's not the Frozen Four yet. I think it's a semifinals. But
okay,
where is it? No, it is the Frozen Four for women's college hockey. They're playing Wisconsin tonight or tomorrow. So go put some money on them.
Yeah, I love that. That's early because the men's Frozen Four is always like right after the basketball Final Four. It's always like the weekend after almost. Last year, DU, baby, Denver University champions. So I love the hockey tournament. It gets underrated, but yeah, so get all that. And hey, for any LA fans, USC women's and UCLA women's, both 1 seeds in their brackets. So USC, I put a bet today on USC women's because even though they're a 1 seed, even though they beat UCLA twice and UConn in the regular season, they have the 5th best odds to win. So they're like plus 800. Like $20 wins you some good money if they go and win the whole thing.
Love it.
BetOnline.ag. Tell the guys at the Rams Skinny sent you. All right, we're talking quarterbacks because the Rams, I'm going to double down on this again. I think we said it last year. They didn't do it. The Rams will draft a quarterback in this draft. Matthew Stafford is year to year. He's on year-to-year deals. They've said that blatantly moving forward. You got to have someone in waiting. Jimmy Garoppolo, even if they believed in him, next year, he'll be what, 34, 35. So that's not a long-term option. Clearly, Stetson Bennett's not the reason. You got to take someone, even if it's a flyer in later rounds, and start seeing if you can develop in. So when inevitably Stafford either retires or they decide just to part ways, which hopefully he retires as a Ram. We're not going down that road yet. You got to have someone you start in waiting. So what we're going to do is we're looking, what we say, rounds 1, Rams don't have a second round pick. So rounds 3, and then we say rounds 4.
Yeah.
So we're looking at those 3 rounds, who the Rams could take in those Rams. Now I know Rams fans will not be pleased if the Rams go quarterback in the first round. I don't think they will do that. But I will just say, don't be shocked. Don't be shocked, which is a nice segue to who you wanted to talk about with the last name pronunciation.
Okay. Well, I thought we were going to start with you, but because you have a better candidate. But
I just I wasn't planning that, but when I said shocked, I'm like, oh, that kind of works with who you're going to talk about.
All right. Tyler Shook, Louisville, quarterback. I don't think he's going to go in the first round, but I did say last episode, I think this year is a trade up or a trade back year. I don't think there's any in between. I don't think they're staying at 26. So this is maybe a trade back candidate. Or if they just really, really dig it, go for him at 26. Don't trade up for him, though.
Yeah, don't trade up.
Don't trade up for this guy. But yeah, Tyler Shook. I think he's, what makes him interesting as a Rams candidate is his ability as a pocket passer. Yeah. Now that's kind of what his hallmark is. So he's a good pocket passer. He's a good thrower of the ball. He's got a good flick of the wrist. He's got a good motion. He's got good vision. But that's, this is where his skill set starts to drop off. He's got some good tangibles there that I don't mind cashing in on, but he's not creative whatsoever. Under pressure, he kind of falls apart. He's don't expect him to go out of the pocket. He's got good athleticism. He can move around in the pocket, but the off platform stuff, he's not going to get it done there. But when you think about, what McVay is going to want, he's got a good command of full field passing, wind protected, adequate timing through his progressions. So all good things for the McVay offense. You have any thoughts on old Shook there? That's kind of the big knock is he is going to be 25, I think. But the Rams have shown a willingness to draft an old man when they went after our guy Stetson Bennett.
That's old Steady B, yeah. Now No, I like this in terms of, again, I'll say this. I think this is what you think. We said first round, but this is in the assumption that the Rams would trade back and take Shuck potentially in the second round after trading back. And Shuck's a guy that he's skyrocketing up draft boards. I mean, he had a really good all-star circuit with the Senior Bowl and through the combine and through pro day. I don't even know if he had a pro day yet, but through just like interview processes. And he's like the biggest riser of probably at least quarterbacks for sure. And again, that doesn't mean he's going to the first round, but certainly is climbing boards and people are seeing the skill set that you talked about. I think what entices me, the size is good, 6'5", 220. So clearly NFL size. I like the experience and so many people at draft, they knock the age. I know you weren't doing that, but just bringing it up. They knock the age, but there's something to be said about when you have a ton of collegiate experience and versatile collegiate appearance. He played at 3 schools, played at Oregon, played at Texas Tech, and then finished at Louisville. So played in different systems, played in different parts of the country, different time zones, and a lot of different experiences, 3 different college conferences. So the competition was different, played in a Rose Bowl, played in a Fiesta Bowl. And so I like all that, those kind of intangibles. And, we look at a guy like Bo Nix in last year's draft and everyone's like, doesn't have the arm talent. He's too old. He's played more snaps than like every quarterback around. And same thing, guy that played at Auburn, played at Oregon, comes in with a wealth of experience, brings that experience with him, ends up becoming a captain as a rookie and leads the Broncos to the playoffs for the first time in whatever it is, almost a decade. So not saying Shuck's going to be that same, but I do think there's something to be said about experience and versatility in terms of playing prowess at the collegiate level. So he feels honestly skinny. Again, first round's too rich. Second round's even that's pushing it. But especially if he's there in the third, he feels like a very Rams pick, like a McVay pick, like a smart, cerebral guy. But he has more body size than the cerebral backups McVay's had in the past, which includes Stetson Bennett. Bennett's not some big dude, but obviously the Wolf of Ball Street, tiny guy. Being John Walford and Bryce Perkins wasn't that big. So this would be the biggest imposing physical specimen that McVay could start to groom and work with under Matthew Stafford. So I like it. I like it more than I thought I did when you first brought it up.
And there's one word that's been thrown around that has often been called a negative for this guy, for Shug, is a gunslinger. And I don't mind that. Look at who they got in the pocket right now. Matthew Stafford was the ultimate gunslinger coming on into the league. And, I think, can this guy continue to be coached? Can he, find his poise in the pocket a little bit more? That's kind of the big question. And I think, taking a roll of the dice on this, if he gets to the third round, there's only, people are talking 2 quarterbacks in the first. If you get all the way to the third without, Jackson Dart and Tyler Shough coming off the board, I mean, you got to go for it at that point.
Yeah.
100%.
I agree. So I'll get to mine. I just got to say real quick, Jackson Dart's going to be my guy. I mean, this is my guy in the whole process. Love Jackson Dart. But I got to say, I have just in front of me like a PFF mock draft simulator just to kind of run through, these are not obviously fully accurate. And this is clearly one of those instances. So I ran through it and sitting at 26, this simulation still has Shedeur Sanders available, which I cannot see a world that happening now. Sanders is certainly, his stock seems to be falling a bit for whatever reason. Whether it's, whatever it is, I'm not going to assume why, but his stock seems to be dropping. But to 26, that would be, we're talking like Geno Smith level fall. We remember Geno Smith during his draft day was seen as one of the top players and fell into the second round. We're talking, oh man, why am I drawing a blank on his name? Bo, from draft day. We're talking, why can't I think of his name right now? Bo, it's
can't
like one
help
of my favorite sports movies all time. Wait, have you not seen Draft Day? Have we talked about this?
No, I don't think we have. I like to, when I have like a big like sports sin, I always like to hide it. I only saw Hoosiers last year.
Wow. I'm speechless.
Sorry. Yeah, I know. I've watched Sandlot like 7,000 times though. If that makes up for anything.
That's good. Well, Bo Callahan. There we go. There's his name. This is that would be like a Bo Callahan level drop in terms of falling all the way to 26. So I do not think this is realistic. I do not think this is happening. There's too many quarterback, even if they're not needy teams, there are too many QB. We talked about it like pre-show. There's like the New Orleans Saints, like, Derek Carr's not the future. Like, why would they not, if Sanders is sitting there at 9, would they not take a flyer? I know the Colts just signed Daniel Jones, but like, you don't want to add Shedeur Sanders to that room. Like, why, they're not like Super Bowl aspirations right now. There's too many teams that, like, if he falls, like, why would you not take a flyer on that? But before I get to my realistic pick, like, if Sanders is there at 26, like, is that a no-brainer for the Rams?
I think so. I mean, if
are you big on Sanders? Maybe you're not even big on him. I don't know.
I'm not huge on him. I think he's kind of a quintessential college quarterback. The things that I've heard, the interview process is where he's dropping, which is interesting.
Yeah.
His cockiness could probably rub people the wrong way, similar to the way his dad's cockiness rubs people the wrong way. Cockiness in a quarterback is as good a thing as it is bad. You look at a guy like, let's say, like Brock Purdy, super confident, irrationally confident. He shouldn't throw some of those balls he throws, but he completes most of them, and it works out for him. Now, on the other hand, you get like a guy like Johnny Manziel, incredibly confident, did not serve him well. So, I mean, I would take him just because I am a strong believer in best player available, and this is actually syncs up with a team need. So if they think that they can stand him in the locker room, if his cockiness translates to leadership, definitely. I don't know enough about Shedeur Sanders to tell you which way to go on that one, but that would be the big deciding factor. You got to shake some of the college out of him. I think that's the only, in terms of like from the tape that I've seen, that's the only thing that I would say is, similar to Stetson Bennett. It's like stay in the pocket, hit your, go through your progressions, hit your guy. Like that's what I have to be able to see on a consistent basis. And he shows definitely a lot of that in college, but it's a whole different story when, Max Crosby's bearing down on you.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting. Like I don't want to say I'm not a huge Shedeur Sanders guy. I think he's very good. I'm not like a top 3 pick Shedeur Sanders guy. Like, I think he does a lot of things well. He's certainly athletic. He had one of the worst running games in college football last year at CU and had not a very good offensive line. And he was able to make plays with his legs, with his intelligence. So I think there's certainly something there, and definitely has some physical tools that Sean McVay would probably salivate over, but he would definitely be the most athletic quarterback that McVay would ever have. And being able to go to a situation where he would have 1, 2, 3 years, however long Stafford wants to play, to groom and learn and not go to somewhere where he's got to start right away, I think would be best for him. The interesting thing with Sanders, and we won't take too much more time next again, I don't see a world where he's there at 26, but it'll be interesting to see. And I don't want this to come out as like a negative or a knock, because I don't think necessarily it is, but it still will be interesting to see, like, throughout his football career, he's never not been with his dad, right? Like, his dad basically created a high school that he played at, then goes to Jackson State, where his dad coaches at, and then they both go to Colorado. And so this will be the first year in, let's call it 6 years or 5, 6, 7 years, however long, where he'll be away from his dad. Not saying he can't be successful. It's just an interesting note. Like, that's a transition for anyone, any human being. Like, when you leave the nest, like, he left the nest of his, like, 4 walls of his home, but he's never actually left the nest. He's always been with his dad and brothers, by the way. So How will he be with a true new locker room environment with, obviously he's had tons of new teammates, but like a true new head force and whatnot. And his dad's probably harder on him than most coaches. So it might be not a problem at all. It's just an interesting thing that I've kind of thought about through his process. If there's any team that he would fit well with, it is the Rams. I mean, Sean McVay gets along great, and all the players, do great. We've seen characters that have issues, locker room issues. Again, not saying he has that, but we've seen that come to LA and everything kind of works out. So that'd be interesting. But it's crazy that he was sitting there at 26 when I'm like going through this mock. Shedeur is still available. So the real guy, I think, and I would take a 1st-round pick on this. Again, Rams fans would not be pleased. But Jackson Dart, I think if he's there, Because to your point, if you trade back into the second, then yes, you can maybe risk he'll be there in the second potentially. We'll see how the board goes. Obviously, if Shedeur is falling, then that means Jackson Dart's probably falling too. So maybe you have a little bit more opportunity there. But if they don't trade and get picks for the second round, he's not going to be there in the third, in my opinion. We'll see. So I think you kind of need to take him. It's kind of that Bo Nix thing from last year where everyone had Bo Nix as like a fringe first, second round pick. Broncos take him at 12. Everyone thinks it's a huge reach. Guess what? The dude's almost rookie of the year and takes the team to the playoffs. So I'm not saying Jackson Dart's Bo Nix, but if he's your guy and you think he's going to be the future of your team, who freaking cares if you take him at 26 or 56? Like, do you think anyone cares that? I mean, other than the fact that everyone talks about all the time that Brock Purdy was a seventh round pick, if he's the guy and they got him in the third round, no one cares. It seems like a steal, obviously, because where they got him. Go ahead.
And nobody's crying that anybody traded up to go get Patrick Mahomes. So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, they traded up multiple first round picks to go get Pat Mahomes, and obviously, yeah, no one cares about that at all because it's worked out tremendously. So, will he be that guy? I don't know. I love his. I think he's got underrated arm talent. I think that's I don't want to say it's a misused term. Obviously, that's important in quarterbacks, but yeah, you have guys like Mahomes and Josh Allen that have otherworldly arm talent. But most other guys that are going to be in those top rounds and play at premier collegiate institutions have good enough arm talent to make it. So I think he certainly has that. I think he has underrated athleticism. He's able to escape the pocket. He's not like a running quarterback, but certainly mobile and can get out of pressure and would bring that to him. And I think he's a gamer. I mean, he obviously everyone will probably remember that the end of the season when he threw like 3 picks against Florida to kind of end Ole Miss's chances for the college football playoff. But, it was an unfortunate, obviously, ending, but he showed up in many other games and many other instances to where I think he has that kind of gamer mentality that can translate to the NFL. So your thoughts on Mr. Dart?
Yeah, when you look at his game, I think what stands out the most is all the things that are kind of shortcomings for him are coachable. He's been around the league, so maybe he's been around college football for a little while, so maybe he can't work through some of those. But you think about, Ole Miss offense, Lane Kiffin offense compared to Sean McVay offense. He just needs time, working through the progressions. I think that would probably be the one knock, but that can happen. Under Matthew Stafford, behind Matthew Stafford. So definitely, first round talent. He gets compared to Brock Purdy in similar ways. His physicality, kind of how he does go through the progressions, and I think probably the one big thing is off balance. How can he produce outside of the pocket, that sort of thing. But when you got the pocket down, like I was saying about Shedeur, like I think he's got that part of his game down. So yeah, definitely. I think borderline first round, second round talent, definitely a Rams quarterback. And just needs some time, learning. So this year will guarantee that for him. So that's great.
Yeah, exactly. So it'd be fun to see him develop in this system. So just for those curious, in this simulation, I went ahead and selected Dart at 26. Shedeur still fell to the second round to the Giants at pick 34. If anyone's interested,
Oh, great value for the Giants.
Great value. And the Giants obviously need a quarterback. So regardless what they end up adding before the draft. So, okay. So now we get to the third round, assuming the Rams don't trade in the second. We're just going first, third, fourth. And the Rams now sit here at pick 90. What quarterback would you like them if they wait till this long to go QB?
This one's kind of the opposite of everybody else. Untested a bit. Raw, definitely. Jalen Milroe, Alabama. I'm just going to start with, just looking at the guy. He's built like a middle linebacker. Incredibly, he's ripped, incredibly athletic, led his team in rushing last season. Pretty incredible statistic there. In terms of arm talent, this guy has got a big arm, high velocity, but we're talking, poor accuracy. He's 22 years old. He's not exactly Anthony Richards coming out, but I would throw him kind of in that category where all that rawness, all that kind of untapped potential has got to be worked out. Is he going to have enough time? Is Sean McVay going to have the kind of patience to go through that kind of thing? This guy's got to, he's got to be worked with a lot. And in the pro game, it's not like they're taking a whole bunch of time out of their day to sit down with a guy and figure it out. But this is a guy that was named full-time captain last year, captain before that by the Nick Saban. People talk about his leadership qualities as second to none in terms of the way he interacts with people, his work with the community, everything like that is second to none. So I love team captains. I love bringing, especially at the quarterback position. They're often team captains. Nick Saban doesn't suffer fools though when it comes to team captain stuff. So definitely a work in progress, but a lot to work with. And can you compare him to Josh Allen? Because a guy that needs help, who's got the arm talent but needs to get that accuracy there, that's a bit of a stretch. Lance Zierlein has this comp to him. I don't know if our listeners or you will remember him, Cordell Stewart.
Oh, former Colorado Buffalo. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. So, Slash didn't end up working out, but that was 30 years ago that he was taken out of the draft. So I think the league's a little bit, knows how to, one, get guys more accurate, and two, how to use a truly mobile threat like him. So in the third round, all that talent, all that raw ability, no brainer for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people have him going in like the second round just because of that athletic ability. So it'll be really interesting to see. And if he's there in the third, I like the prospect of that just because, you don't have to rush him. I mean, you have all this time. You have at least a year, maybe 2 or 3. So I think that's fantastic. And he was such an interesting arc because he kind of started off slow in college. Then he gets the starting role 2 years ago and kind of really plants his name. And Alabama did some good things, and Nick Saban's obviously last year. And then last year, Saban retires, Kalen DeBoer takes over. There's still the hype because they get this high-profile coach from Washington who was in the playoff, and Alabama didn't play up to Alabama standards, and a lot of that seemed to fall on Milroe, which, you're the quarterback, rightfully so, but also it was a completely different system he was then running and learning and different changes and all these different facets of college football. So certainly the talent level's there. And so I think the Rams situation would be good for him. So, yeah, I would be definitely good with that in the third round. For me, I have one that I think he's not as physically gifted and talented as Milroe, but certainly is seasoned and has productivity at the highest level, including a national championship last year at Ohio State. And that would be Will Howard. Nothing Will Howard does, in my opinion, jumps off the page. I don't think, and this sounds disrespectful, I don't mean it. I don't think he's great at anything, but he's really good at everything. He had 105 carries last year and 7 rushing touchdowns. He threw for over 4,000 yards and 40 passing touchdowns. Led Ohio State, obviously, to a national championship after some disappointing heartbreak in the regular season, losing to Michigan again. And this was his first season with the Buckeyes. So going through that adversity, and then I know this is painful for you being a Notre Dame fan, so I'm sorry, but going through that adversity and then capping the season off with a natty win, a dominant performance over Oregon in the Rose Bowl. Again, another Rams pick, I feel like. And, obviously the size is great, 6'4", 235, so a big dude, just a football dude. So, went to Kansas State, had to play in Manhattan, Kansas. Then he goes to the glory of Columbus and Ohio State, and maybe he looks good in the old soul and royal blue of the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan, but he's got kind of like a baseline of all the things you want to see, in a quarterback.
It was not to cut you off, but it was so funny watching that natty because they were both transfer quarterbacks, but watching Will Howard versus Riley Leonard, it's such similar arcs, just dudes that transferred over. They're not really great at anything, but they're actually pretty good at everything. They're great leaders, great team guys. Always put the team first. It was just watching the same dude in the mirror. Even looks similar.
Yeah, and I should
They're going to
deserve.
get drafted in the same round, probably.
Probably. I deserve a pat on the back for not including Leonard in this discussion. So you're welcome, everybody, for not putting you through that. But he's got good mobility. He's a tough runner, like you were saying. He's his arm talent is functional and pretty good decision maker. I'm not mad at anything he does. Not impressed. Not nothing's really jumping off the page, but kind of what you were going towards, with the, getting, going through the transfer portal, trying to, Columbus is probably one of, 5 of the hottest markets for college football. I'm not breaking any stories here, but like, that's not an easy place to go into, especially with kind of like the up and down season that he had. And, it just shows a competitive toughness that you really have to appreciate in a guy like that.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, after losing to Michigan, I mean, they were about to burn the campus down. And the fact that, and I do not like Ohio State at all, especially being a USC guy. And, but the fact that they went from that to winning the Natty, I mean, that says a lot about Will Howard and his character as a quarterback. And we saw that with Matthew Stafford, right? When the year they won the Super Bowl, they didn't win a game in November. Like, everyone was out on the Rams. They go on in the Super Bowl. The last 2 years, they're 3-6 and 2-5 or whatever their records were into making the playoffs both years. So you need that kind of tenacity, grit, and leadership. And that sometimes overcomes the pure athleticism. So I'm buying more and more into Will Howard in the 3rd round, baby.
Every round, they're just going to take a quarterback.
Yeah. I'm going to see my draft grade on here when I have 4 quarterbacks taken in the first 4 rounds. All right. So Rams have another 3rd round pick right after that, but then their next pick is pick 127 in the 4th round. Who you got the Rams going quarterback here?
Can I talk you into Kyle McCord out of Syracuse? 6'3", 218 pounds. You want a pocket passer? This is your guy. I think, he's not an athlete. So that's for sure. But in terms of tenacity, sticking around, going through all sorts of, where was he? Well, we'll talk about Ohio State. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He was run out of Ohio State. Found a home in Syracuse. I don't have a lot to say about him, but he's not jumpy under pressure. He's going to hang in the pocket. He's no check down Charlie, that's for sure. He's kind of got that gunslinger as well, which I like to see. So I mean, it's a 4th round quarterback. There's plenty wrong. There's some good stuff. There's some bad stuff. But pulling it out, 2nd team all ACC, not a bad quarterback, good arm.
I mean, when you look at draft location or whatever you want to call it, the Rams took Stetson Bennett in the 4th round. Stetson Bennett was like 27 when they drafted him. The intangibles were not off the chart. The arm talent, any of that. He basically had on his resume like 2 natties, right. which is worth having, obviously. So taking a Kyle McCord, who probably has a little bit better arm talent, a little bit better size, some of that just happened to like go from Ohio State to a lesser program in Syracuse. Fran Brown, great coach, by the way, and I think he's turning Syracuse around. But yeah, it's not a bad. I mean, it's the 4th round. It's not bad.
I think he's fundamentally sound. This is kind of the opposite. I think this was a reaction to Stetson Bennett. He's kind of the opposite of Stetson Bennett. He's just going to hang in the pocket. He's going to make the throw. Good touch. Can drive the ball down the field. And you can work with the rest. You kind of get what you see with him. And I don't mind that.
You can work with the rest. There you go. Okay, for me, I won't add too much. I think it's a fine pick, 4th round. What's really hard is like to gauge like where these guys would truly go. Because I'm sure some people listening like, well, you could probably get McCord in the 7th round. Like, what are you doing in the 4th? I mean, maybe we don't really know. And this next guy is another guy. And I've been doing some research and looking at different mocks, and some have this guy going 6th or 7th. Some have them going 3rd or 4th. So that's why I feel good about taking him right here in the 4th round if the Rams wait till now to get a quarterback. And you'll love this. Golden Gopher, Max Brosmer.
Okay.
Like me some Max Brosmer. Played 4 years at New Hampshire, small school. Transferred for his final year to go to play for PJ Fleck and the Golden Gophers of the great state of Minnesota beat our mighty Trojans on a sombering game that basically, killed USC's season, essentially. Well, the Maryland game was truly what killed it, but, it started the trend towards the downfall of the 2024 USC season. But I think Brosmer has some nice things. He's also kind of a gunslinger. The stats weren't like off the chart last year, but almost 3,000 yards passing, 18 tutties, 6 picks. He's 6'2", 225, so great size there. But again, I think the experience at the collegiate level, playing 5 years total, 4 of those at New Hampshire at a small school, 1 in the Big Ten at New Hampshire, at Minnesota. I think he brings a lot with him to the table, and then you get some time to develop him here at the pro level. But PJ Fleck, for all those Minnesota fans out there who maybe don't love PJ Fleck because Minnesota is always kind of just that mid-tier Big Ten, the dude produces NFL talent. And obviously Brosmer's only there 1 year, but I think I saw somewhere that Minnesota has had like a first-round pick the last like 4 years or something like that. I'm spitballing. I don't remember the exact stat, so I apologize. It's not, but they've produced more first-round picks than some of the premier programs in college football. So could Brosmer be that next linchpin quarterback to kind of develop and become good? We'll see. But again, it's the 4th round. Like, could they get Brosmer in the 6th? Maybe. But I've seen some saying he goes in the 4th. So I don't feel bad taking him in the 4th.
Yeah. I mean, what I really appreciated about his game when I watched it is just how tough he is. He always seemed to be like picking up the first down, keeping the game alive. Plays with a lot of confidence. Pretty cerebral, it seems like, but still has good size, decent athleticism. I think again, it's like can one of these college guys that this team relies on the running game for sure. Can he kind of make that jump into just a pure passer? And that would be the big question. And, we've seen guys make that jump. So I think, starting off as a backup again, he's going to be a backup for a little while. So give him some chance to see. And if they get him later, even better, take a flyer at 5th round, something like that. I know we kind of framed it in a certain way, but if he's still around, definitely a lock on day 3. So, if he can be I guess 4th round technically would be day 3, but if he can be a late day 3 pick, then to me it's a no brainer. 4th might be a little rich, but for this exercise, I liked him better than some of the other options that were available. So, yeah, what do you guys think? What quarterback? Because I'm going to say it. I'm wearing my Aaron Donald Super Bowl ring shirt. The Rams are drafting a quarterback this year. Put it out there. They're going to do it. I think so.
Should I guarantee it?
Let's do it. Let's lock of the week. Generational lock of the. Do you remember that guy?
Yeah,
animated.
I know who you're talking about.
Lock of the week.
Yeah. No, I won't guarantee it because it's the Rams. You can't guarantee anything with the Rams. But yeah, I think they will. So anyway, let us know what you guys think. Comment below if you're on YouTube. Rams LAFB is the YouTube channel. Really easy to find. If you're not there already, go there, watch there. You can look at our ugly mugs. You can subscribe. You can comment below. We appreciate always all of the engagement. If you're on a podcast platform, Apple, Spotify, just search Rams Skinny. You can subscribe that way. Or all of our Rams content, including this episode, this video, all of our Rams articles, editorial, plus all of our other Los Angeles sports coverage can be found at LAFBnetwork.com. So we thank you always for tuning in. Don't get mad at us when the Rams take a quarterback early, but it is necessary. They do need to start planning for the future. And depending how the board falls, it could be a very wise choice for setting it up, especially if they can get later talent, how well they've drafted at the other positions. That could be good. But anyway, we're going to keep this rolling. We'll probably do another position or another round here later. Love NFL draft season. It's always the best. Skinny, we've gotten really into it. It's fun. So thank you all for hanging out. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to Bet Online. Everyone have a great day. We'll talk to everyone here soon and be back with more Ram Skinny here on the LAFB Network.